So, guys, I got to admit, I'm an idiot, and I really drove that point home tonight after work. See, I get off work every day at 5 o'clock, and I had a haircut scheduled tonight at 6:30. Now, instead of driving home, which is about 15-20 minutes, sitting for a half an hour and turning around and going back close to where I work to get my haircut, I decided not going to do that. I'll go to Menards, kill some time. Obviously had about an hour and a half, do some shopping, then go to my haircut. Well, the problem is I do all of this, walk in at about 6:15 to 6:20 for my haircut appointment, check in, and the lady that does my haircut looks at me and says, "Well, I had you down to be here at 6." Mind you, I just spent an hour and 15 minutes killing time because I thought my appointment was at 6:30. Luckily, she's able to get me in on Saturday. But yeah, I'm an idiot, and somehow, even though I checked the app about 4 or 5 times to see when my appointment was, completely messed it up, misread it every time, and they even called me yesterday to confirm my appointment, and I missed that call. So yeah, I got nothing. I'm just an idiot. So that's how my evening went. But on that note, welcome to House of Heckman. Kick off your shoes, stay a while. Let's make another podcast. So, other than that little fun bit of my evening getting wasted because I screwed up the timing of my haircut, I'm tired. It was a long day, working in the rain, and frankly, I don't have a great plan this week. I want to try and change a few things up. I know last week, after re-listening, even though telling you guys I'm not going to do a bunch of edits, I don't really feel that that is something I wanted to start doing on the first episode, especially with doing YouTube also at the same time as audio. Makes it a little bit more difficult. See, there's one right there. Didn't even mean to do that one. Trying to stop doing ums and ahs. That was the biggest thing I noticed when listening back. This podcast stuff is not easy. It's one of those things where you listen to everyone, you listen to podcasts on a daily basis, and it seems very easy, but you really have to think about how many production crew members, folks editing the podcast that there really are. And I realize being a one-man show, that's tough. Like I said, especially with the YouTube aspect, it makes it even that much harder because if you do go in and do all those edits, the amount of jump cuts you're going to have every single time you do an or an ah, which there were a lot. You listened, you know. Thanks for coming back, by the way. I appreciate that because it could have been a rough one. We'll make it through. We're learning. I have no idea what I'm doing. Said that last week. Who knows? Maybe this one will be better. I'm going to certainly try to cut out as many ums and ahs as I can. So again, I don't have to go through and edit. If it was audio only, you'd never know. Well, you probably would because my editing sucks. But anyway, here we are. I'm tired. It was rainy all day. We've got potential snowmageddon tomorrow morning, or today when you listen to this or watch this. Recording on Tuesday, coming out tomorrow, Wednesday. Supposed to have snow, wind. Could be crazy. We don't know. Or we get nothing. It's weather. You never know. So today, what I'm going to do, we'll talk about some things off the top of my head that I have kind of looked up and done a little bit of research with. But also, I just kind of want to go through, I've got a phone with me today, pull up kind of some of the top stories, news, whether it's NFL, NBA. Yeah, you heard that one too. Another, again, we're getting there. But NFL, NBA, see what's out there in the news that I missed today and just get an instant reaction, real time, what I think about it. With some of the things that I do know that are going on when it comes to NFL, I did see that the Vikings are letting Sam Darnold go test the waters, which in my opinion is a very polite way of saying, we really don't want you back. This is going to kill me, guys. Sidebar, again, it is incredibly hard to not say and ah. Record yourself speaking on things and see how many times you do that. Last week when I made that episode, I even did part of it with a teleprompter on my phone so I could try and get through, and I still ummed and awed all the way through that thing. Anyway, back to our regularly scheduled programming. The Vikings letting Sam Darnold go and look and talk to other teams to see what his value is. It's a nice way of saying, we don't really want you to come back, but if nobody will pay you what you think, let's talk. Maybe we can get you for cheap. I do really think that they want to have J.J. McCarthy be their future if everything works out well. It seems like he was on a good path last year through training camp, through the preseason, joint practice. I think it was the Browns, if memory serves correct. But we'll see. I think Darnold will probably end up getting a good offer somewhere else. Frankly, wouldn't surprise me if he were to go back to the Jets. Dumpster fire, as they are, but I think he might give them a second chance, especially if he can get the money. Go for it. Chase it. Who cares? He'll probably hate life for 3 or 4 years if he does that, but whatever. If he can get the money, do it. On another thing I saw today was that Saquon, holy cow, resetting the running back market. I never thought it would get to this point, but it was a 2-year, I believe, $41 million extension, new money, if you will. It's crazy. With the guarantees and everything, I think it does actually fully take him to averaging about $20 million a year, which is mind-boggling for a running back. Considering before last year, we thought the running back market was dead. But apparently when you can come in and be that guy for a team and be the dude and take them to a Super Bowl and win over my Chiefs, you get paid. So that'll be interesting to see really what kind of market that truly does set and if other teams are going to do that. I know that a lot of his money is also guaranteed. I want to say at least half, if not more. I didn't really look into the details, just kind of skimmed that one earlier today. But anyhow, those are the stories on the NFL side that I actually kind of saw about earlier today. What I'm going to do now is I'm just going to kind of take a peek at my phone, and we will see what else is out there. And also, if you are watching this on YouTube, you'll notice this isn't actually my phone. It's a very vibrant pink phone case, but my primary camera that I usually record with is not functioning today. So I am using my phone to record this episode, the video-wise anyway, and use this spare one with this case that is pretty. If you're watching, nice, ain't it? Anyhow, this is going to drive me nuts because now every time I say that, I hear it, and I want to punch myself in the face. Apologies. The Jets releasing Davante Adams. Well, no duh. What was he going to do? He's not going to stay there. Rodgers is gone. So more than likely, wherever Rodgers goes, my presumption, somebody's going to pick up Davante Adams for pretty cheap. That would be my guess anyway. I guess, what would you want to call it? The experiment with the Jets clearly didn't work. Davante, he may still have some things in the tank. Who knows? I guess if he wants to get another ring, he might just go to a contender and try and do that route by himself versus going with Rodgers wherever Rodgers ends up. Which on that note, I guess, who really knows what's going to happen? I heard someone talking today on the radio, one of the ESPN talking heads, that maybe Rodgers could take a year off. No chance in hell he's going to do that. The guy's over 40 years old, I think. May have to look it up. I'm not going to do that right now. Say around 40, he's not going to take a year off because if he does that, I don't think he's going to come back. My opinion, could be wrong. I was wrong about the Matt Stafford deal. He ended up back with the Rams. Although, he did have a meeting with Tom Brady that was coincidence at the same place at the same time in Montana at a ski resort. Odd. Before legal tampering next week. But anyway, I don't think Rodgers will come back if he does sit out for a year and then do that. There's no way. If he is going to go somewhere, I could see potentially the Giants. It would be very funny to me if, just to follow in the footsteps of old Mr. Brett Favre, if somehow the Vikings didn't think McCarthy was ready and they brought in Rodgers to the Vikings, that'd make my day, because it would be full circle with Brett Favre. If you don't know what I'm talking about, just look up Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers' path. It would be almost identical at that point. But who knows where he's going to end up. If I were him, I would probably just hang it up. Frankly, the Jets had a better record the year he got hurt there than they did the year that he was actually there and supposed to be the savior and start all year and not tear his Achilles. And they were worse. When it comes to other quarterbacks moving, like the Darnold situation again, the other team I could see him potentially going to would be tough if he does, but maybe even the Saints. Derek Carr, well, he said he'll never take less money. He's not good. He's clearly showed that he can't really play that well. He never really has. But maybe the Saints could pick up Darnold, or who knows? Maybe he goes back to the Vikings after all. But on the note of Aaron Rodgers again, the one thing I will say, heard a rumor potentially that he could go to the Giants, which would make a lot of sense. He would stay in New York. Hell, he'd play at the same stadium. Whether that's good or bad for him, I don't know. But you never know. In other NFL news that I'm just scrolling here, there's an article that says Justin Fields is probably more likely to be with the Steelers than Russell Wilson. I would say that's accurate, but I don't think either one of them will. I've also seen a lot of talking points of Justin Fields going to the Raiders, which is one thing I brought up last week, that I could see him fitting with the Chip Kelly offense and having that mobile quarterback to kind of get around. But I'm not too big into the Justin Fields and the Steelers news world. It really doesn't hit here where I'm at. So, again, I don't know. The other thing that I saw, which actually wasn't on the news that I saw right now, but would be Deebo Samuel. The 49ers trading him to Washington. I do think he's been kind of a diva, especially this last year in watching some of their games. I'm a big Brock Purdy fan, being a fan of the Cyclones, and watching them, seeing the other talent on the team. It seems like Deebo was kind of a prima donna at times and getting into it with folks on the sideline, so it doesn't surprise me that they sent him off. I am a little surprised that they only got back a 5th-round pick. I really figured they would have gotten a little bit more, maybe a 3rd or 4th, but clearly you can just tell they wanted him out of the building, letting him go for a 5th-rounder. The other NFL news that we'll probably touch on right now is just a little bit of the Combine. I didn't watch as much of it as I thought I would this year. Was in and out with work and just a busy schedule. That I did see, one player in particular, I think his name is Ahmed Hassanein, not quite sure how to pronounce it, out of BYU. He's an edge rusher. He seems like he's going to be a dude. His 40 time, his vertical, none of those numbers really stuck out too much, but watching in some of the 3-cone drills and other things he did, he was very vocal with the coaches that were doing that and very amped up. He almost seems like, and I haven't watched any of his tape and I haven't went back and looked, but he seems like one of those players that he will be a what do you need me to do, coach kind of guy. Again, just a dude. So that'll be interesting to see if he does progress that way and where he goes in the draft. He one that, like I said, really caught my attention in watching this weekend. Other than that, a few guys from Iowa State definitely did really well. Jalen Knoll, I know, had 23 reps in the bench press, which is the most of any receiver. Whoop-de-doo. He can bench 225 23 times, not a big deal, but it's impressive for a receiver. The other one was a cornerback. Forgive me, I don't know all the players' names. He did really good, had a very good 40 time and a pretty good vert. Other than that, again, I didn't really watch too much of it. It seems as though while watching what I did, though, that even some of the guys with NFL Network that cover the draft are almost seemingly getting tired of covering, not the draft, the combine, draft combine, are almost getting tired of covering the combine. They seem like they're running out of things to say, talking points. Obviously, when you're talking about the players, you can go through a litany of items about each individual player. But when it actually comes to filling in that time, it's almost like someone like me trying to do a podcast, trying to fill out time and actually make things make sense, where they're just running out of things to say and have to just go into side stories and see what else they can talk about. And it's made it a little bit hard to watch this year, even when I was able to. Back on the talking points of today with my fancy pink phone that I've got, I'm going to look into a little bit of the NBA news. I don't really touch too much on NBA. I don't watch it a lot. I am a LeBron fan on the court. I know a lot of people will talk about how he's gotten political, or we'll talk about different items and people just tell him to play basketball, all those things. I don't care. On the basketball court, the dude's a stud. He's 40 years old. He's still balling. In my opinion, with where the Lakers are, it wouldn't surprise me one bit if he doesn't get MVP votes this year. From what I've seen and some highlights and other talking heads discussing it, I know Shai Gilgeous-Alexander from the Thunder is probably going to be the MVP as it sits right now. I think he's had 4 or 5 50-point games. But LeBron is balling out at 40 years old, and it's incredible. I'm 42, clearly not in good shape. Not terrible, but I'm not going out and playing basketball at a highly competitive level, and I'm only 2 years older. It's mind-blowing that we're the same species. He is a human, I'm a human, and he's out there doing that, and I'm sitting in a spare bedroom in my house attempting to make a podcast, and I think this is difficult, and he's out there doing that. Anyway, I digress. The Lakers look pretty good, in my opinion. They've won a ton of games lately. JJ Redick could very well be coach of the year. I think he's done an outstanding job with that team, especially when a lot of folks gave a lot of grief on that hire, thinking that it was, it's just LeBron's guy. They're bringing him in to make LeBron happy. And frankly, the dude's coached his butt off. He has done an amazing job with that team, especially after getting Luka in that trade 2 weeks ago, I want to say. They've been great. Luka's obviously still trying to figure things out. With not following too much of the NBA as a whole, I do follow where LeBron is a bit and how his teams are doing. Try and watch them play. It's tough. They play at 9:30 Central Time a lot. And frankly, I like to sleep, so I'll go to bed 10:30, 11. And that does make it tough to watch some of their games. But I'll at least watch the first half, catch highlights, see how they're doing. But yeah, I think JJ Redick, coach of the year. He would have my vote if I had one. In other NBA-related news, I saw the Mavericks, since they traded Luka Doncic, terrible luck. So Anthony Davis gets hurt, so he's out for a while. And then I saw today that Kyrie Irving has torn his ACL, so he's done for the rest of the year. It looks like they've got another half dozen players that have injuries that are missing significant time, so that's not going well for them. I would hate to be a Dallas Mavericks fan. Well, really a Dallas sports fan, because you got the Cowboys. They're a hot mess, which we'll get back. Another note on that one. But the Mavericks have no luck at all right now, if not for bad luck. And then, to top it off, on top of all that bad luck, you get rid of your star player. They just sent out an email to all their season ticket holders that next year, on average, all of their season tickets are going up about 8.5%. And I think the quote, something to the effect of, they are doing that to help better the fan experience and essentially to help out covering costs of things. Well, maybe, just maybe, you wouldn't have had to do that if you still had all of the jersey sales from your star 25-year-old player that you traded away. Make it make sense, Dallas Mavericks. I'm sure Mark Cuban is sitting there laughing just because he sold his majority ownership in the team, and now they're screwing everything up. But back on the Dallas sports fans and the Cowboys, the one thing I wanted to touch on that really quick again because I forgot about it is I did see that CeeDee Lamb is redoing his contract to free up some money for the cap space. So that's good. At least they might be able to re-sign Micah Parsons. Who knows? Or they'll trade him. But anyway, back to the NBA. Other news that I'm seeing, there's not a lot that I can really pick up on because, frankly, again, I don't know the NBA that much. I see somebody's been fined. A lot of fines. Not like it used to be. Back in the day, as they say, people got fined a lot because there were tons of fights. LeBron James and looks like Donovan Mitchell, players of the month. That was kind of cool. Donovan Mitchell's good. I think getting to Cleveland has really rejuvenated his career a couple years ago. I'm not quite sure exactly how long ago, but he seems to be playing very well. And then, yeah, that's really all I've got for NBA talk. I've been trying to watch more sports and open up my world a little bit. Again, just like last week, I talked NASCAR. I definitely do enjoy watching NASCAR. The race this last weekend was the Circuit of the Americas. It's a road race, so it's not just a drive fast and turn left. There's actually right-hand turns. Crazy. They actually have to use their clutch and shift and do things. But that was a pretty good race. William Byron, who is I say our, like it's my family, but myself and my daughter, our favorite driver, he picked up a second-place finish. Really looked like he could have had a chance there towards the end, probably the last 2 or 3 laps to get into shape to take the win. Didn't quite have enough juice to get it done. Few wrecks. The road races, obviously, you're not going to get the big wrecks like you do on a speedway like Daytona or Talladega or somewhere like that. But it was a pretty good overall race. Mostly clean racing. A few moments where it got a little crazy there. But other than that, racing this weekend was pretty slow. I did watch a rugby match. I don't know what they call them. Don't even know how the hell that sport works. But it was very entertaining. It was the National Rugby League. They actually had a few games in Las Vegas at Allegiant Stadium where the Raiders play. And as I was watching that, I want to say it was, I think Saturday night, I mentioned to my wife, it looks like, and this is funny, that there are more fans there for the National Rugby League, which is teams from Australia and New Zealand, I believe, than there are for a normal Raiders game. That made me laugh. I frankly couldn't hold it in. It was great because the Raiders think they have the greatest thing. Their fans can be moderately annoying. I mean, let's wear spikes on our shoulders and do all that crap. But then when you see a rugby league match have more fans in the stadium than your Raiders games do, that's funny. You got to admit. It was entertaining. Again, I have no idea how the hell it works. I don't know the scoring. Apparently they get so many tackles per try. It's weird. Seems entertaining, though. It might actually be one that I'll look into the rules and kind of see how it works, what's going on. The other thing I watched this weekend was more TGL, which is the golf simulator league that Tiger and Rory put together. It's a $50 million golf simulator, essentially, that's got a stand set up in it to where fans can watch a rotating green, which is pretty cool. Been watching a lot more of that lately, which I think is good for the game of golf. I love watching golf too. I'll sit on a weekend and just have golf on. I know for a lot of people it's not that entertaining, but to me, it's enjoyable. I could watch that NASCAR, but I'll sit and also call people who watch baseball nonstop weird because I don't know how they can sit and watch a 3.5 hour game like that. But I'll sit and watch a 4 or 5 hour race or 8 hours of golf. Just people hitting a ball, chasing a ball, hitting a ball, chasing a ball. But that golf league's pretty fun. They've got movable. Like I said, the green is movable, so it actually rotates and can change pitches, and it's got undulation underneath it, so they can actually change the pitch and how putts roll and everything like that. And they also have different, I guess you'd say, hitting surfaces. So they've got a sand trap, they've got a fairway, and then they've got a rough section that they can change in and out. If one gets too beat up or anything as far as the grass goes, they can actually drop in another square of grass, which is cool. I'd love to have a $50 million simulator at my house. Love to have a $1,000 simulator, but I just don't have the room for it. We got a podcast studio. How are we going to do a golf simulator room? The format on that is it's teams, but then they have individual. My goodness, I cannot talk today. Individual matches also. So it's like a stroke play kind of deal. Fun. Again, it's entertaining. I think it's going to bring some younger people to watch golf because it is quicker pace. You don't have to sit and wait for people to walk fairways. So I really think that will help bring even more younger viewers in, and then maybe get them introduced and liking just regular PGA Tour golf. Hope so. You never know. I'm sure that's what they're hoping too. The last thing on my agenda for today is, again, just to thank you guys for tuning in, checking out the show. House of Heckman is just me rambling to a camera. If it's not for all you guys listening or watching on YouTube, make sure, again, check me out on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it. The website, houseofheckman.com. YouTube, House of Heckman. Anything House of Heckman, it's probably there. TikTok, we're on there too. Kind of a mismatched, jumbled up compilation of some family stuff and the podcast, which I'll probably clean up at some point, really, and make it just podcast related. My daughter likes to have the YouTube stuff and TikTok. And frankly, that's fine, but we might have to now separate those now that Dad's doing a podcast. If you have any questions, let me know. Twitter, X, wherever you want to find me. See ya.